But I wanted to thank everyone for being here. My name is Sarah Garthley, and I'm the owner of Rawsomely Healthy Pets. And my business page is Rawsomely Healthy Pets by Sarah G. And I am a vendor for Karma Pharma 1000 CBD oil. And my main goal is education and helping you understand what makes a good product and making sure that you have the best possible response. And I know that the CBD oil world is so overwhelming and scary and not a whole lot of information out there. So I took the opportunity to ask Jason to join us. And please feel free to um, ask any questions because we will be chatting. But then as you ask questions, I can certainly relay that to him, or Jason can see him too,
Sure, sure.
because I'm only seeing a few comments. So,
So,
Jason, hi.
hello. Well, we finally got this thing to work. Yesterday it didn't work so
I
good.
know this is
Um, but everything takes time.
right, right.
Anyway, so
So,
my name's Jason Kinnear, and I'm one of the owners of Karma Pharma 1000. And this kind of came about because I have some friends that moved out west and they decided to get into this business and start farming hemp. Um, they had a superior line of genetics that they were using, and they were getting a lot of traction. So it kind of piqued my interest. I had always been interested in that marketplace and never knew how to get into it, but I thought this was a really good way to help people get into the industry and, try to give people a really good, high quality product for their dollar.
so you mentioned the superior genetics.
Hmm.
Is there a way for the average person to know, or is that just trusting the company?
There are ways that you can know. One of the only ways to know is to really see lab results. So what happens is when the whole hemp plant is processed, they put it through a number of different processes, a number of different products that you can get from the plant. And then once they get what they're after, they take that and usually test it themselves. And
Mhm.
then they'll have a third party do lab testing. And when it comes back to them, then they'll be able to see exactly what the genetic profile is for that plant. And so every plant is going to have a different level of cannabinoids as well as a different number of terpenes, which are very valuable and they're finding to be very therapeutic.
Awesome. Awesome. So, so if someone, because I am finding that just saying, "Oh, look for the lab report. Look at the lab reports,"
Hmm.
and they just people just hear, "Oh, it's third party tested." Is there something? And I'm encouraging people to look at the lab reports.
Absolutely. But if you don't know what you're looking for,
That was
then
my
it
question.
doesn't mean anything.
Is exactly. Is there something little that you could suggest to look for on the lab report?
More than just CBD. So you're going to want to look for different cannabinoids like CBD. Obviously, you're going to be looking for CBD. You're going to look for CBGs and CBNs. And there's a long list of cannabinoids. If you go to my website and you look at what is CBD, it'll give you all a list of all the different cannabinoids that can be found within the hemp plant. And then you want to look at the terpene counts. So we go to a lot of these expos and we meet a lot of people, and I'm not saying anybody has bad product, but a lot of times I look at, I don't go there and say, oh, let me see your lab results. They usually have them displayed and I'll look at them and I'll nicely think to myself, wow, they've got like 4 terpenes where mine usually have like 30. So there's that makes the difference. So the companies that are growing plants that lean more towards the old world European hemp, which would traditionally be used to make rope and textiles and paper and things like that, those particular plants do not have high profiles, such as the plants that we're using. The plants that we're using have been genetically bred to have those properties.
Right, right. So explain what terpenes are and why they're
Terpenes,
important.
well, they're important for a lot of different ways, or a lot of different reasons. So different terpenes do different things and aid in different things throughout the body. So to sum it up real quick and easy, terpenes are anything in nature that gives something a smell, such as like a rose. When you smell a rose, you're smelling its terpenes. When you smell any flower, or if you smell, for instance, a cannabis plant, they all have a very unique odor or aroma,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because of the different type of terpenes. And there's limonene and myrcene, and literally tons and tons of different terpenes, and you would have to go through and look at all those different things to give you an idea. And I can tell you what, let's see here, just to give you an idea. Like pinene is the most commonly found, and I'm pulling this right off of my website. So reduces the size, or known to reduce the size of cancerous tumors. It's a bronchulator. It's able to cross the blood-brain barrier, which is huge. Myrcene, it's a sedative. It's good for sleep. Humulene, anti-inflammatory, and the list goes on and on. So they're all good for different reasons.
And what I've noticed is a lot of times the terpenes are missing.
A
And
lot of times the terpenes are missing, and let's backtrack a little bit. So in talking about a CBD product, one of the big things is to know whether you're getting an isolate-based product or a full spectrum hemp oil product. And they're totally different things. However, the CBD isolate is simply that. It's an isolated CBD molecule, and that's all that it is. It's just CBD. And it's not that it doesn't work. It just doesn't work as well as when you add all those other things. When you add all those different cannabinoids and all the different terpenes, you get what they call the entourage effect, and you really start to get the benefits. They all work together to do what they're supposed to do. So we have one product ourselves that is, and it's only the only product that we carry that's an isolate product, and that is, it looks like this. See if you guys can see it. It's
uh-huh.
basically a crystalline product that you can crush up and put into almost anything. And this right here is about 1,000 milligrams of CBD. This particular product is an isolate product, but for flavor, we had terpenes added back to it.
Oh,
So,
wow.
but that's about that product. So you want to look to know what you're getting. A lot of times you'll find isolate products, or isolate is put into products such as, more than likely, Coca-Cola. When they start doing a CBD product, they're going to use an isolate because a powder mixes much better than an oil does. You see what
Mm.
I'm saying?
Right, right,
And they're going to be able to claim that it's CBD, but it's just not going to be the same.
right. So you had once explained to me about what a full spectrum is, and made the analogy of the orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
Can you um, can you explain that, because it's such a great analogy?
It's kind of like if you have an orchestra and the whole orchestra is sitting there, and you've got just the strings playing. That's it. You can still recognize the song, so it's still working as far as listening to music, but it's not the same as when the whole orchestra starts. You add the drums, then you add the woodwinds, then you add the brass, and then you have this full orchestra that gives you the entourage effect. So sure, does just the CBD or just the strings work? Yes, but it's not as grand.
Mm.
So
That's a great analogy. I've used that, and I've actually explained that way to Heather. And
good. I'm good with analogies. I bring them up. I use them all the time.
well, I had explained it that way to Heather, and she was just like, "Wow, that's a great analogy." Um,
Awesome.
so, um, sorry, I'm trying to get into my group so I can find some of the questions.
Sure, sure. Take your time. No rush.
Um,
Just to
so
while you're thinking.
I remember one of Kayla's questions from the group was
Mm-hmm.
why does yeah, Heather said yes. That one really put it all in perspective with the orchestra.
Awesome.
Um, why does full spectrum CB or hemp oil
Mm-hmm.
work so well? I mean, what is it about cannabis and why is it so medicinal?
The reason that it works for us is because we have inside of us and all mammals, so all of our pets, which is obviously your
Yeah,
specialty.
I just sold a bottle to a woman that does rabbit boarding.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
I
Okay.
know.
That's kind of cool.
And I said, well, they're going to have an endocannabinoid system, but they're tiny,
They're so
and,
small.
and
Sure.
Karma Pharma is a higher potency. So just try one drop.
You
Um,
know, and if you think about it, we're not. It's not that we're a high potency. It's that other companies have all different levels of strength in their bottles, and so you'll find that now in today's, we used to be one of the highest potencies, but you can find 3,000 milligram bottles out there now. They're extremely expensive, but they're out there. So it just but with the 1,000 milligram bottle, it makes it pretty easy for dosing because that's where you get one drop is pretty much the equivalent of 1 milligram because you're looking at just over 1,000 drops in a 30 mil bottle.
yeah, because I guess I say it's potent because there's such profound responses. Like the woman
Sure.
in Connecticut who gave her dog has an epileptic dog and it's tiny. I mean, it's a
Sure.
Maltese mix or whatever, and had to give her dog 2 or 3 eyedropperfuls of another product. And 20 minutes later, the dog went into a seizure, and one drop of Karma Pharma brought the dog out of it.
And that's one of the things with the genetics. So just like I was saying, my buddies in Colorado, all of their products are great products. That all their plants have fantastic genetics behind them.
Okay, I'm going to look for a way to share this in the event
Mm-hmm.
because I could have sworn I went live in the event, but people are not seeing it. Why is this so difficult? It doesn't need to be.
Everything with technology is difficult until it works perfect. It's for me.
Right?
So while you're figuring things out, something that people can do to educate themselves besides listening to us, and this is a great way to do it, but it may be able to, help them,
Oh yes. What is your
find. What's that? I'm sorry.
mention your website?
Sure, it's real easy. It's karmapharma1000.com.
Yes. And Jason is not only myself. I'm available whenever for any questions. Um, if you have any questions, Jason is also available, and you can message him on his Facebook page, Karma Farmer 1000, or reach out to him on his website.
Sounds good.
I hear Patch. Is that Patch?
Yeah, he's whining. Somebody was at the door. So
Okay.
anyway,
Oh, I'm sorry. You were gonna tell them where else to go.
so I would go to projectcbd.org, which would be one of the first places that I would go. And they're going to give you tons of information. You can search up anything, like anything that you can think of when it comes to hemp or marijuana. It basically tells you how it works with your body, what it does. You can find any question you can throw out there. It talks about different drug interactions. It talks about dosing. It talks about the endocannabinoid system and how it works. And so going back to how and why it works because we all have an endocannabinoid system. And so we have it, our pets have it, and it's just a matter of filling a void within that system that makes it so your body can communicate.
Right. And the endocannabinoid system is the main biological system that controls the rest of our body. And that's
They have found through scientific research in the last, say, 15 years a lot about our endocannabinoid system. And what scientists are saying now is it is the master communicator of all of our systems.
So how did they find the endocannabinoid system?
Good question. They're scientists. So I'm not 100% sure. I couldn't tell you, to be honest with you. So another doctor that I follow on YouTube, which is a good informational source, is Dr. Philip Blair. He's amazing. And he's got, but I will tell you, he's not the only source out there. There is an abundance of sources out there. You just have to look for them. So now that it's becoming more and more accepted every single day, it's becoming to where people are researching, and they're doing private research on their own to figure out how this works, why it works, and it works because our body produces its own cannabinoids on a daily basis. We all produce cannabinoids all the time. The problem is we get unbalanced. So a lot of times our body, when it goes through stress and things like that, it'll produce tons and tons of receptors, but it can't produce enough cannabinoids for us to be able to use and stay in what they call homeostasis. So what happens is, like, when a runner runs and they get what they used to call runner's high, that's no longer a thing. They know now that that's your body producing cannabinoids because of stress. So it's not adrenaline. So if you do the research, you'll find that out. So that's new within the last couple of years. And that's from Dr. Philip Blair.
Wow. Wow. All right. So I'm looking in my group.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So dosing.
Mm-hmm.
Someone had asked in my group a while ago when I said, hey, what questions would you ask if you could talk to an expert?
Sure.
Okay, so they say they use it for them. And
right.
She can manage pretty well her dosage based on how her pain is responding. But how does she tell for her pet? So suggestions for starting out dosing for a pet versus a person. Is it a lot different? Would they use less on the animal?
Absolutely. So the animal would use a lot less. If you look at most of our packaging is going to say that you're basically going to use 1 drop, if you're using our drops, for every 10 pounds of body weight. So like one of our CBD chews for dogs is 2 milligrams, which is good for 20 pounds. So if you have an 80-pound dog, you're going to give it 4 treats. Does that make sense?
And
so if you're doing drops, then it's the same thing. You're going to give that dog or cat or whatever it is that you're treating, you're going to give it basically 1 milligram for every 10 pounds. And usually that works pretty good. I find that a lot of times animals have a better response than we do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm not 100% sure why that is, but that's what I've seen. They usually get a really, really good response. And the other response that I've gotten from people that I was kind of surprised, but now I know the reason why, is that with the topical creams and the CBD salves, if people are going to get a good response, they get a really good response. People usually rave about that stuff. It takes pain away really, really fast. It helps them with whatever their issue is. And it's because we have more receptors in our epidermis than anywhere else in our body.
Yeah.
So
the balm is amazing. I've sent it to my friend in Florida who's had her hands smashed up in a car accident, and she says that takes the pain away like unbelievably quick, and it allows her to paint again. And
awesome.
She just had surgery on her foot, and the nurses, and she's snuck it into rehab and all that because they said no, you can't bring your CBD oil. But she's snuck the balm in and has been putting it on her incision or whatever, and the nurses are commenting on how nicely her incision is healing.
Awesome.
I know.
Awesome.
So Heather has a question.
Sure.
She's been thinking about trying CBD for her horse with respiratory issues. But it seems prohibitive since he is 1,500 pounds. He is already costing me.
I would agree.
already costing me a fortune trying to manage him on herbs. So with 1,500 pounds, would that still be a one drop per 10 pounds, do you think?
I would assume so. Yeah, you could
Wow.
certainly try less, but you know,
Yeah, because I have to be honest, Caber, I really liked his response. He was 100 pounds, and I really liked his response at 6 drops a day.
okay.
So it still depends a lot on the
Well, it
body.
depends on absolutely, because I have people that when they get started, I tell people to start with 10 drops twice a day. And some people are like, whoa, that's way too much. And they back it off and they're doing like 6 drops twice a day. And then you get some people that are like, oh, yeah, for the first 2 weeks, I was doing 30 or 40 or even 50 drops at a time. And that's what it took to get the relief. So a lot of times, if you're really deficient, you'll need to oversaturate yourself in the beginning and then be able to back it off as like a maintenance dose. So to give you an idea, here's another analogy. You've got and I've used this one with you before. So you've got a
Mm-hmm.
glass or a cup with a hole in the bottom. It takes a lot of work to just fill this thing up. But once you get it full, then you can just drop it. So Chase is on here. Chase is big in the tattoo community. He was saying that the CBD salve works great to heal tattoos. And he was
Oh,
also so that's a really good place for people to use it. But he also said something about the horse. Could the horse eat hemp? Absolutely, the horse could eat hemp, and it would probably get really good benefits from that. You just have to find a good source to buy raw hemp. Right now, it's a little dicey bringing it, across, state borders and stuff like that. Not that you can't, but as a raw, unprocessed plant, it's still questionable. As to whether you're going to have problems with it or not. But I will tell you that hopefully this spring, we're going to be opening up and doing things in Pennsylvania. And so I'm not sure where she lives, but if she lives in Pennsylvania, then she could probably get some raw hemp flower, but that's a ways off.
Heather. I've sent it to Heather, and I can't. Remind me where you are, Heather.
Because to feed a horse hemp, like you're going to have to send like bales of the stuff. You could probably send somebody with a truck to go get it, but once again, you're looking at wholesale prices. You're still looking at a decent amount of money. You know what I mean? It's still going to be not. It's going to be cheaper than drops. It's just not going to be super cheap. Unfortunately, it's not there yet. It's just a very expensive product, and everything about it's expensive. It's not even, because people are trying to gouge people for money. It literally cost buku bucks to farm this stuff. Most of it still has to be done by hand. When you're growing a premium product like this, and you are using these type of genetics, you can't really start from seed. You have to do genetic clones. So you take cuttings of this particular plant, and then you have to root them, and then you have to grow them from adolescence to decent size before you put them out in the field. So they all have to be kept in a greenhouse for months at a time, and then you put them outside, and then you've got to nurture all of them. And you can set up drip lines and irrigation lines, but they still pretty much have to be harvested by hand because there is no such machine yet that won't just thrash these things and destroy them. I'm sure they'll be out soon. The person that invents that does a really good job is going to have a lot of money, but it's just not there yet. In the
Right.
future, it'll be there, and that'll cost a lot because when you're paying people, $20 an hour to harvest hemp, and you've got 30 people doing it, and they're doing it for 6 weeks. That's a lot of money. It has to be paid for by somebody,
Yeah.
you know. And that's not even the cost of running the greenhouses and all the lights and all those types of things, preliminary to getting it outside.
Hmm. So where is the best place to grow hemp? Indoors or outdoors?
It works awesome outdoors if you have the right climate for it. So Colorado is great as long as they don't have like a volatile storm where it's like tons of hail and things like that because it's so dry. The problem that we're having here on the East Coast is, we have torrential downpours. And so, we'll have mold problems, you know.
Oh, didn't even.
Well, And so once you have mold, then you don't have anything that you can use to extract. And so basically you've spent a lot of money on not being able to produce.
Okay, so let's go to the next. Oh, so you were talking about your treats, which are great because I do have someone out in Nebraska that buys the treats and loves them. But what is the most effective way to administer CBD oil?
I think the best way for an animal is going to be the drops. I'll tell you, the treats are easy, but you don't get maximum absorption because they're just gobbling it down. They don't get to absorb it through the capillaries in their mouth, which is where you're going to get the most absorption. Best when I give it to my dog, obviously I have the treats here, so I give them to him and just, give him a couple of them here and there. But if I want it to work and get really good results, then I put a couple of drops in the bottom of his food bowl. He licks it up and he's good to go. So
Yeah.
sometimes if he's asleep on the sofa or something like that, I'll lift up his lip and put a couple of drops under his lip. And, he doesn't mind that at all. So, and that works as well.
So why doesn't absorption through the digestive tract work as well as through the mouth?
Because in your mouth, you just have more capillaries. You have more blood vessels on the surface. So if it goes in through your stomach, then it goes through the whole liver bypass and all that kind of stuff. So you lose some of it there.
So is that why they say when you a lot of the companies, you say, oh, you'll hear 2 or 3 eyedropperfuls on their food? That's because you need.
Well, some of it's because those products are, they're 250 milligram products.
Right.
And
right.
So in order to get, if you got to take 10 drops of mine, you're going to have to take 40 drops of theirs. Do you follow me? To get the same dose. Yeah. So that would be the reason for that one. And, we're going to find that as this evolves, there's going to be boatloads and boatloads of different products and new products, and they're all going to work differently, and everybody's going to have the latest and greatest. And like I told you last night on the phone, one of the next big things is going to be, water-soluble products, because our bodies are mostly water.
Right.
And it just makes sense, So,
right.
But, those are very, very new, and they usually are very, very expensive. So most people say, well, the oil's working, why change it? You know what I mean? But there's always going to be marketing strategies as to why you should switch and use somebody's product rather than the next person's. You know what I mean?
Right.
So unfortunately, where that's, there's more and more people getting into the marketplace every single day as people become more and more comfortable with it. And, since brings competition, and with that is good competition and ugly competition and, all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, because there's people are in business. When you're talking about business, I mean, people are always worried about, oh, it's a saturated market and there's competition. But when it's a saturated market, it means that there's a demand, and it's not, a saturated market can be a positive thing as long as you figure out how to stand out from the crowd.
Well, and if you're a consumer, how to find a good product, because there's a lot of really good product out there, and there's a lot of really bad product out there.
Right.
So you just have to, and by watching things like this and going online and trying to figure out what is a good quality product. And then at the end of the day, at some point in time, you have to get your wallet out and you have to try a couple of them so that you can feel it for yourself,
Right. So when people talk about, okay, because here's one answer. I mean, one question. If you tried it once and it didn't work for you, does that mean it just doesn't work, or is it necessary to try a different brand or a higher dose?
More than likely, it's that they're going to have to try a higher dose. So what we usually tell people is, start off with 10 milligrams. If the 10 milligrams doesn't cut it, and you've tried it several times and it doesn't do anything for you, Dr. Philip Blair, that we follow a lot, what he recommends is that you double that dose. So if you were taking 10, try 20. If you were trying 20, do 40. And eventually, somewhere in there, you'll find your spot where you need to be. And once you get there, a lot of times after being there and getting what you need, once you've got the results that you want, it means that you filled the void in your endocannabinoid system, right? So then once you've done that, then you can start to take it back a little bit. So let's say you get up to 20 drops or 20 milligrams before you find results. Then do that for a couple of days. And then next time, maybe go back to 18 drops or 15 drops. If it doesn't work, you need to stay there. If it does work, then you can stay using that because it's effective, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because in the beginning, I was probably 25 a day, 25 milligrams a day.
Certainly.
And now I can do 7 drops twice a day. And in the beginning, I was doing it 3 times a day.
Yep. And that's pretty common. That's pretty common.
And that's what so I'll tell people in the beginning, you know, sometimes it's better to do 3 times a day because then there's that sustained level in your body. And
yeah, absolutely.
And once you get to the top of the cup, because I've used the cup analogy before, and I probably even used it with Heather. So Heather was probably thinking, oh wow, but I just got it from Jason, so I was just spewing.
Whatever. That's all I do. All my stuff is.
I know.
I hear somebody. I listen to it because I'm not a doctor nor am I a scientist, so I take their information and I use it. I mean, that's all we can do. I can't make medical claims. You know what I mean?
I know, but it's just so funny. You listen to someone and you're like, wow, they're so smart, and all they're doing is repeating what they know from someone else. So
that's it. That's right.
Funny how it works, but yeah, I was a lot in the beginning, and then it was one day I was like, oh, let's try to taper off and see what happens. And now I've noticed, 7 drops twice a day, not the 3 times a day. It's awesome. And man, that balm,
that's the best. Yeah, I like that product myself.
Unbelievable. And that's why I ordered all the samples, because what I would like to start doing is sending those samples with every new bottle order that I get, and say, hey, here, try this. These are some of the things it's good for. And if you don't want to try it, pass it along to someone who might need it.
Who does? Sure. Absolutely.
And it's amazing. Amazing. So I'm going to be sending you a sample, because Heather's ordering a bottle on Friday, and I will be sending you a sample of the balm, Heather, when you order. Hang on one second. So here's an interesting question, because a lot of herbal supplements, and Heather says her shoulder is the perfect spot to try the balm. So I do a lot of, I'm involved with homeopathy, which is a lot of the work and herbal supplements and everything. They talk about storing them away from, the higher magnetic fields and all that. Do you have to worry about that with CBD oil?
I would recommend keeping it in a cool, dark place. That's why we use the cobalt blue bottles, because light doesn't penetrate it. Perfectly honest with you, probably be best if you put them in a black glass bottle, so no light could penetrate it. But it's not as attractive. So really, light and heat is what you want to keep it away from. As far as the magnetic field, there could be something with that. We're finding that more and more every day, magnetic field affects most things. So.
Right. Oh, interesting. Is there anything that, and I guess because we're going on to that topic, and I do a lot of homeopathy, that like Vicks Vapor Rub will negate taking a remedy. Is there anything that you should stay away from taking with the CBD oil? Anything like that? I don't know if I've ever asked you that.
Not really. The only thing that I've There are some things that can interact with it. There's a couple of drugs, but I tell everybody that if you're unsure, talk to your doctor. But usually, if you're going to have any adverse effects, it's going to be that you're, drowsy or lethargic. They're not going to be crazy, and they usually don't happen until higher doses, like that most people don't take, which would be like 100 milligrams and such. However, that's not the case all the time. There are some people that are really, sensitive to it, and sometimes you can have people that, you know, 2 or 3 drops really affects them. You know what I mean?
Yes, I
So,
I sold a bottle to my friend in Texas, and
mhm.
he's been responding that he gets really drowsy on 3 drops at night.
Which
But
is kind of crazy. It's kind of unheard of.
it is, it's
But
crazy.
that
Oh, and
does happen.
yay, Chris just joined. Um, I don't know why it's not showing up in the event, Chris. So I'm sure a lot of people are missing this, but that's okay. That's what the replay is for, and they can always ask questions.
Absolutely, and we'll do it again sometime.
Yeah, and I had my list up and everything, but then when I tried to download Google Chrome to do that Be Live TV thing, it I accidentally closed out my, what is this called? Firefox, and now I don't have it up.
Sure.
Oh
Well,
well.
I tell you what might be a good idea too is that, since, obviously it's, people are busy right now and things like that. So if people do get questions to you, then there's no reason why, like during the day when people are at work, we could do this and have a candid conversation about questions and answers and things like that. And then it'll be recorded for people to watch when they get done with work.
Right. There's always the replay. So that's why I
So
was like, you know what? Even with the reverb, it'll work out, and the replay,
absolutely.
what all that. Um, so Chris, I know you're joining um late, but do you have any questions? Even if we've talked about it before, we can always revisit. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Oh, and I did get your box out. I sent it priority, but they still said it was going to take 3 days. I don't know why. So you're either going to get it Saturday or Monday. So do you have any questions? I know there's a delay, so she might be typing something.
Yeah, it's usually like 15 seconds or something.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'm just trying to
So
think.
anyway, next week when I'm out of town, definitely we can try and do a live there and try to show everybody what one of these greenhouses look like.
Yeah, what would probably. Okay,
Oh,
so
awesome.
Chris is.
Vivid dreaming. I've not heard of that one before. Usually people get wiped out and they get tired and they fall asleep. But, I don't know. That's an interesting one. Not heard that one before.
But then again, as you say, everybody's body chemistry is different,
Everybody's body
and
chemistry is
how they
completely different.
respond is differently. I had someone say, "Oh, she loves it," but then she was noticing that she was getting nauseous, and she's like, "Oh, is that a side effect?" And I'm like, "Well, anything." Oh, and she said not creepy dreams, just really vivid.
Okay.
Um, and I said anything is possible because it's working at rebalancing your body.
Right.
So any response could happen.
Sure. Sure.
And I know because as your body is getting healthier, sometimes you'll have a health issue from your past pop up because it's your body working at healing and pushing out all of that junk from your past.
Sure. Absolutely.
So I was like, yeah, sure,
Yeah. Kind of like a detox,
right,
you
exactly.
know?
Um, have you heard of detox and CBD oil, or is it?
A lot of times I think what happens, I don't know honestly. Like obviously there is some sort of a cleansing thing going on because your body's starting to communicate better with itself.
Uh-huh.
But I think what happens most of the time, to be perfectly honest with you, is most people that are taking CBD oil, A lot of times they're going on, I don't want to say a health kick, but they're trying to do the things to try and make healthier choices. So
Right.
with that, when you're not consuming the sodas and you're not consuming the fast foods and you're not consuming as much alcohol maybe and things like that, then yeah, your body is able to get rid of the garbage that it's holding on to, and which it kind of gives you a detox and makes you feel kind of cruddy for a couple of days while you're getting it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's more the case. I don't think it's really the CBD doing anything. I think that in the small cases that it happens, it's more or less the people making lifestyle changes, you know.
Right. Right.
But
So for those that don't, well, no one really knows, but just some uh, input. Jason used to be in Herbalife,
many
way
years
like
ago,
many years ago,
many,
and
like 25 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so he isn't just someone that decided to do this CBD oil thing for shits and giggles. He's actually been quite involved with health and
Uh, and I've believed in cannabis since I was probably 16 and just researched it. A lot of my friends, that's why my friends are out west growing it. You know, that's what they knew they wanted to do and they were good at it. So they went out there and, you know, doing their thing.
so did you start your interest in cannabis um and not to put you on the spot or anything, was it more um for medicinal reasons or was it more like oh,
Well, no, it was completely recreational at first, and then you know you're like, oh, am I really doing the right thing? And then you stop for a while and you're like, man, I don't feel as good as I used to, you know. So and there was a reason. So, you know, but do I think that there's a time and a place for everything? Absolutely. Too much of anything can be bad for you, you know. So
so talk about like what we touched on last night, because I know there's a lot of medical marijuana programs coming out,
hmm hmm
and Chris has a lot of neuropathy issues and everything, and she has wished for a medical marijuana program.
hmm
And I had asked you last night, is the CBD oil industry will that be affected by the medical marijuana
no.
or in trouble because of the medical marijuana programs,
I
or
don't think
not?
so. I think that the CBD market's going to shift. I think that there may be a time and place when, you know, you can only get CBD through that type of platform because I think that no matter what we do, the state's going to try and get more money out of it. I do believe. I do believe the reason that you can start to find some CBD products in dispensaries, but the reason that you don't see them too much, it has to be produced in the state in which it's sold. So like where I am in Maryland, you know, they're not growing a ton of CBD products. They're growing medical marijuana because that's what people want. But now that there's more of a demand, they're starting to do CBD stuff, but it's really costly. Um, so back to your question, no, I don't think they're two totally different things. Medical marijuana gets you intoxicated and it gets you high, and it does help you people with different things. I mean, absolutely, there's different uh, you know, genetic profiles that are good for different things, such as some are good for headaches and some are good for epilepsy and some are good for sleep and some are, but the CBD, most of the time, the CBD will do the same thing. If you're the type of person that doesn't want the intoxication, then the CBD is where it's at.
So the CBD is just as valuable as the THC.
If not more. It's a huge anti-inflammatory. However, they both work better when they are together. So the results that you're going to get that are positive from THC in a medical application are going to be better if you have those other cannabinoids like CBD and CBG. Once again, we go back to that entourage effect. It just works better when all the components are there. But CBD works better with a little THC. And that's the one downfall. Like with my product, I've got what we call a full spectrum oil. And you're going to notice on my labeling here soon, it's going to go to a broad spectrum oil because a
Mm-hmm.
true full spectrum oil has THC in it. And my customers that we've created the following for, they really like our THC-free product, knowing that they can pass drug tests, knowing that there's no THC in it. But I will tell you, a little bit of THC does help that CBD to work much better.
Okay.
So even though you can, obviously, our products help people very well without that THC, the THC is still a good thing. Not in big quantities, in little tiny quantities.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris has a lot of inflammation in her feet and ankles. And it was brutal and dry and cracked skin and everything. So she's getting
Wow.
She's been waiting for me to be restocked with the 1,000 milligrams because
Okay.
I just felt with her issue, I told her to wait and hold off and not do the 500.
A lot of times I'm finding the 1,000's overkill for people, so the 500 might treat her well.
Oh.
Honestly, like the 1,000's wonderful, but sometimes, like I find that the people that got great results from the 1,000 milligram are continuing to get great results with the 500. Obviously, we've got both, and we've got a ton of 1,000 milligram right now. The 500 might be all she needs.
Okay.
So,
well, she's
just
got
a thought.
1,000 milligrams coming to her, and if
Awesome.
so we'll either be
Well,
sticking
at the
with
end,
the
no,
1,000.
at the end of the day, she can always use half as much. Just use it sparingly. As you know, Sarah, a little bit of that stuff goes a very long way. It spreads out
Oh
tremendously.
my gosh, when I'm in muscle pains and everything, oh man. Uh-oh. Am I back?
I can see you, but you're real choppy. Something's going on.
Oh no. I don't know what's happening.
More than likely, we're probably getting whatever we were dealing with last night. But whatever, we've been on for a while. We can always kind of close it and
Yeah, and
restart again another time.
right. And this will go up in the group as well.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I cut out, but I'm back. I got a message on my phone that my storage was almost full, and I'm like, oh crap! And then it went to settings, and then I had to reverse out of there.
Nice.
Cool. So, and then Judy just arrived. Hi, Judy. Oh, and there's Kat. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why it didn't go live in the event. It went live on my page, so no one got notifications. But this is going to go. I'm going to post this in the event, and it's also going to be going in the business page. And what we are thinking about doing is, as people watch this and have more questions, we might hop on Jason and I might connect during the day and do a live and just answer all of your questions like a Q&A. And then, I can post that again.
And then if all works out, next Thursday, I'll be in Colorado, and we could do a Facebook Live from one of the greenhouses, let everybody kind of see what that looks like, and
yeah,
maybe even do
what we might need to do with that, because obviously you can't go live in my page, is you go live in your, if you're willing.
Sure.
To go live in your Karma Farma page, and then
And just invite you in.
Yeah.
Just like you did to me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
should work good.
And then
not a problem.
Because I think when I'm invited in, people get notifications.
Absolutely, they do. Yep,
yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Oh, and then I can share as the live is going on, I can share the live to my business page, and people can say, can see it that way. That would
awesome.
be cool. But wouldn't that be cool, guys, to see the behind the scenes at a hemp farm? That would be freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'll be at a couple processing facilities too. So, but yeah, let's try and do something like that. It'll be the end of next week. More than likely, it's going to be Thursday. But if you compile a list of questions and you want to get together like over the weekend or something like that and do a whole question and answer between you and I, and if people jump on, that's great. And if not, then we'll just roll with it.
Yeah, because you know what? This is the first time we're doing this, and this will get the word out that I'm the person to follow and you're the person to follow, and
Cool.
as we do more of it, it'll. But real quick, because we just 5 more minutes. The because we talked about the extraction
Mm-hmm.
process last night, and the food grade ethanol versus the CO2, and um, so the extraction process, that's pretty up there as far as the quality as well, more so than just the
Yeah, but you're going to
genetics.
find that most people are switching gears with that. Most people are doing things in similar ways. And what you're going to find is that that's going to constantly evolve. So when it began, people were stripping this stuff off the plant with toxic, solvents such as, like, butane and propane and things like that, because it works and it works well, but it leaves toxic, residues behind. So then they went to a CO2 extraction, which obviously CO2, it's just carbon dioxide, and they use the liquid state of it before it's a gas. It works really good as a solvent. However, what happens is you end up losing a bunch of those valuable terpenes that we talked about earlier, and you're also limited by how much you can do at one time. So what they found is the next best thing is food grade ethanol. You can do very large batches, and it preserves a whole lot of that. There are some people that are evidently leaning towards and doing some sort of water extractions, but that's all proprietary information. Nobody really knows much about that yet, except for the people that are just getting it started. So there's going to be those types of things that come in the future, and so it'll constantly be evolving as time goes on. So that's just where we are right now. The best way to do it is the food grade ethanol, and sometimes people do like a combination of the CO2 and the ethanol. It just depends on who the processor is.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting.
but
And I was going to say something. Since I'm going to put this on my YouTube channel,
mm-hmm,
tell the the viewers, like, where, other than me, who is an online vendor,
mm-hmm,
where because a lot of your products are mainly in brick and mortar businesses.
absolutely, sure.
So where could someone who is watching look up to see where those stores are located?
Go to my website. I've got a store locator. We're all over Maryland, Pennsylvania. We've got some stuff like in other parts of the country, like Texas and a couple of other different places throughout the country, but most of it's on the East Coast, and that's kind of where we started. And we're at a point right now where we're just about ready to start taking on a bunch more vendors, but it's a painful growth process, and obviously all of it takes time, all of it takes money. And I don't just do this. I've got a full-time career as a real estate agent, and I've got other things going on. So it's like you just keep going and dodge the bullets and get through the hurdles. And when you think you got it all figured out, the whole industry wants to change up on you, and you reinvent it.
Right.
But with that, let's wrap this up, and
Yes.
let's touch base, you and I, tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Everybody, thanks for taking a look. If you have any questions,
Yeah.
message
Comment
Sarah.
comment
She'll put a
below.
list together for you.
Yep, I'll get with Jason, and my uh, business page is Rossumly Healthy Pets by Sarah G, or you can look up my personal profile at Sarah Garthley and send me a friend request. And I would be, oh, you're welcome, Heather. And I'm happy to answer any questions or find out answers from Jason that I don't know. So
Sounds good.
have a wonderful night, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Have a good night, everybody. Thanks again, and definitely come up with some questions. We'll talk to you soon. Good night, Sarah.
Yes. Bye, Jason.